Good evening and welcome. Tonight we are going to be continuing our read through of this book, History of the World, Map by Map. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad to have you here. My gimmick with this book is that I do not read these pages in advance. We go in together and explore it together. Isn't that nice? All my other books I read well in advance, all my history magazines and stuff, so I know exactly what they're going to talk about, but not in this one. I just know the topic. And tonight's topic is revolution of two different kinds in Europe, starting with the Industrial Revolution. Make sure you can see everything here. Sometimes this series has some chaotic moments. Sadly, there will be no cat tonight. He was being extra chaotic while I was filming, so he's locked up with my sister in her bedroom. So no cat tonight. I'm very sorry if you loved the cat, or you're welcome if you didn't like the cat causing chaos in the videos. But let's start off reading about the Industrial Revolution and how it began here in Britain. First, we have the cotton textile industry, 1700 to 1790. Britain's expansion across the globe and slave labor in its colonies created a boom in cotton production. It provided the raw material for a new mass market product, cotton textiles. Richard Arkwright's combination of innovations created the first modern factories, which wove cloth at even greater levels of productivity, especially with the adoption of steam power. Cotton was seen as a threat to the wool trade, which was slower to mechanize. So we see this, I guess, like a spool here. Cloth, textile mills in 1870, and a little sheepy here to show wool production in 1870. Probably have to slide this down more so we can find these symbols. Lots of sheepies down here in the south, lots of sheepies over here, and lots of cotton or textiles, I suppose, up here. Interesting. I guess there's more space to graze down here, maybe. And more areas for factories up here. I know it gets a little mountain or lakey or marshier up there. Maybe that's why. Oh, and then we have cotton imports from North America and India are the arrows. Look at these. You see this? Coming in from the colonies and I guess various parts of North America. And it says India. So I wonder if the Indian ships sailed across the Pacific to North America somehow, maybe over to Panama, and they crossed the isthmus, or however, I don't know. Interesting thought, how they all came in this way over to, looks like, Liverpool. Let's read about steam power. That's what I think of when I think of the Industrial Revolution. I'm going to adjust this cord real quick. There we go. Barely moved, but that's better. Steam power, 1712 to 1802. Steam power was the defining technology of the Industrial Revolution, as it provided the energy needed to drive highly productive factories. English engineer Thomas Newcomen's crude steam engines had powered some mines, but improvements by James Watt in the 1770s heralded a new age of steam power. Using Watt's engine, coal could be extracted from deeper levels, making available the fuel source that would power factories, steamships, and railways. There's a little gear here to show the significant steam engine developments. Let's see if we can find those. I see one. Oh, there's two. Right here. And we'll read all these little boxes after we finish reading these little boxes, so we'll learn more about that. Then there's coal. Coal from 1700 to 1850. This cord is being a menace tonight. Could you not? There we go. Much better. Deforestation had led to charcoal shortages just as demand for fuel was increasing due to the invention of the steam engine. But coal provided an efficient alternative initially in order to avoid transportation costs. There was a period there, but coal provided an effective alternative. Initially, in order to avoid transportation costs, industries are limited to coal-field regions. However, this began to change once the bulk transport of coal was made possible, first by canal and later by rail in 1750. There's a period there too. And later by rail. In 1750, Britain was producing 5.63 million tons of coal per year. By 1850, this had increased by more than 1,000%. All the orange areas are coal fields in 1870. You can see a big one over here. Lots of over here. Lots of over here. A lot of them over here in Wales. Little ones over there. Along the coast here. Can you see it? Right there. And then, of course, the north is very famous for its coal mines. You can see a bunch here. The Midlands, I suppose. And then all up here. Here and then up into the border over to Scotland. And along here as well. A whole bunch. Then there's iron. 1700 to 1856. The full potential of iron could not be realized until it was possible to smelt iron without introducing too much sulfur, which made it brittle. In 1708, Abraham Darby first used coke? Is that what it really says? Charcoal like coal, they called it coke? Oh, I better watch out with YouTube. Let's say Coca-Cola. I don't think it mentions it again. They really called it that? How interesting. I'm like looking at it 100 times to make sure I read that right. They called it coke. Okay. To produce cast iron, while malleable wrought iron was produced in 1784 as a result of Henry Court's puddling and rolling technique. Steel, which was vital to the development of the railways, became widely available in 1856 when Henry Bessemer invented the air lance. So iron mining and smelting in 1870 is represented by these blue mills here, I suppose, and you can see them here, I think. Oh, there's a couple up north. There's one here. Can you see? There and up there. Any south? Oh yeah, look at these in Wales. All through here. There's a bunch. And then we have railways. 1801 to 1850. Canals were key to the early stages of the Industrial Revolution, but they were superseded when advancements in steam power and iron production came together to create a new form of transportation, the steam railway, able to transport raw materials, goods, and people quickly. The railway allowed industry to grow across Britain. Look at this thing. It says Stephenson's Rocket, 1829. It's like a steam-powered car, I suppose. The big old chimney here. But it shows the railways by 1870 by little railroad tracks, and I'm sure they're just going to be all over the place. Oh yeah. All over the place. All over. Like they still are today. Let's read all these little things here. Starting up here in the north, it says March 1802, William Symington invents the world's first practical steamboat right here in hold on, all I can see is the Muff, in Grangermouth, right along there on the Forth of Clyde, I think it is. Here in 1807, English mining engineer John Buddle introduces the first air pump. And I can't read these town names when they're in the red. Wallsend, I think it's right next to Newcastle. In I can make sure you see. May 1812. Mine explosion at Felling Colliery kills 92 workers, leading to advances in miner safety. Oh, isn't that sad? May 1812. In September 1825, Robert Stephenson and Company's locomotive number 1 travels on the world's first public steam railway, the Stockton and Darlington line. Now that is really interesting. The first real train. That's pretty cool. That would be a fun voyage. Like when we did my video on Baden-Württemberg, we talked about the world's first road trip, the world's first train trip. Awesome. October 1829. English engineer Robert Stephenson's rocket wins the Rainhill trials held by the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. I feel like I've heard that story where they put the steam train against, I guess, the coal train, I suppose. I guess then that's not really the first train ride. The first steam train ride. I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know nearly enough about trains. 1850, coal production increases tenfold from 1750. This is February 1856. The Bessemer converter is invented. It produces steel from iron by burning off carbon impurities. And here in August 1771, going back a bit, Richard Arkwright opens Cromford Mill, a water-powered spinning factory here in Cromford. What else is over here? This is all happening, of course, in Manchester, which is one of the heartlands of the Industrial Revolution. July 1761, the Duke of Bridgewater. Is that the Duke of Bridgewater Canal? England's first canal is opened. Oh, I see. The canal's called the Duke of Bridgewater Canal. I thought his title was the Duke of Bridgewater Canal. And I'm like, that's not a title. The canal's called the Duke, not the person. That's funny. That's what happens when I don't read in advance. July 1779, the first cast iron bridge was constructed. In January 1708, Abraham Darby uses coke in a blast furnace for the first time and produces cast iron. I can't believe they called it that. Of course, it didn't mean anything back then. 1712, Thomas Newcomen's steam engine pumps water from a coal mine. 1782, right? That's an 8, not a 0. That's an 8. I can't read when the words are in the river there. What does that say? The Oxford River's the Soho Foundry. The Soho Foundry becomes the first in England to be powered by a Watt steam engine. Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about these little things here. What were they again? Significant steam engine developments. Indeed, indeed. The 1750s, factories are mainly located in coal field regions, as you can see here. 1792, Scottish inventor William Murdoch purifies and stores coal gas, a byproduct of coking. And then over here in 1784, wrought iron produced at first iron rolling mill. Interesting. So many pieces to put together all of this, right? And totally changed the entire world. All of these little inventions coming together to create pretty much our modern world today, and just changing the entire landscape of England and Wales. It reminds me of, what movie was that? How Green Was My Valley, which takes place in Wales in like the heart of industrial times in this coal mining town. Really good movie. But let's head to an even bigger revolution. Not the French necessarily, but the revolutions of 1848. Europe popped off in 1848. It was a wild, wacky time in terms of just political upheaval all throughout Europe. So let's read about it. Box number 1, and I promise this time I'll get them in the right order. I got it wrong during Napoleon's last charge toward Waterloo. I read it backwards. Number 1, outbreak of revolution in France and Sicily. I guess we are talking about France. France and Sicily, January to March 1848. In Palermo, Sicily, a revolt broke out against the Spanish Bourbon King Ferdinand II, and it soon spread to Naples. In France, King Louis-Philippe suppressed public meetings, triggering riots in Paris. The mob was fired upon. Louis-Philippe fled, and the Second Republic was declared. Unrest erupted across France as workers took to the streets. National revolutions are shown by these blue flags. Abdication of a monarch is shown by this symbol. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, like a crown of some kind. Oh, it's an upside down crown. Now it makes sense. Abdication. And then this fist here shows Republican Revolution. We can see here in Paris, Revolution and abdication. Abdication down here. See any blue flags? Oh, over here in Sicily. Nationalist Revolution. Number 2, the fire catches, January to March 1848. Revolutionary sentiment spread across Italy. The Milanese rose up and drove the Austrian soldiers under Marshal Radetzky out of the city, appealing to the Piedmontese king, Charles Albert, to take them under his protection. Venice declared itself a republic and had the support of a number of surrounding cities, including Treviso and Udine. I think that's how you say that. While Parma revolted, Charles Albert declared war on Austria but lacked allies to win. So, nationalist revolutions during this time are these pink flags, and Republican revolutions are these pink fists. So we see those down here in Italy, like I was saying, pink flag, pink fist. These are red. That's a pink flag right there. Just little happenings starting to get things worked up here. The fire catches, right? A united German Union, March to May 1848. The death of King Christian VIII of Denmark in January ignited the Schleswig-Holstein question, which talks about further in this book, and prompted an outpouring of pan-German nationalism with demands for unification under a liberal constitution. Nationalist assemblies in Britain and Frankfurt called on the Prussian king to unite Germany, and revolts flared up across the German Confederation. So these nationalist revolutions are yellow flags, and yellow upside-down crowns are abdications, or the abdication, I guess, here in Bavaria. And then a flag here, flag here, flag here. There's a good map of what Prussia was at that time. It's hard to describe Prussia nowadays because it came up in trivia the other day, my live trivia. And it was like most of today's Germany was Prussia, but not all of it. There was still Hanover, Complicated, at least to imagine today, Then we have the establishment hangs in the balance, March to May 1848. The fate of the establishment hung in the balance as the forces of reaction fought to cling on. Revolution in Vienna forced Foreign Minister Metternich to resign and the emperor to flee. A liberal constitution was granted. Imperial forces crushed a pan-Slav conference in Prague, but failed to prevent nationalist uprisings in Hungary. So here we have these dark purple flags for these revolutions, nationalist revolutions. Purple upside-down crowns are abdications of monarchs, and an upside crown for an establishment victory, where they didn't have to abdicate. They managed to squash it, which you can see here in Parma, the flag there. Make sure you can see, absolutely. Purple flag, purple flag, purple flag, purple flag, purple flag. Here in Hungary, Buda and Pest before they were one. I think that might be it. Confusing this. What's this border? Does it say in this box over here? The German Confederation. Gotcha. German Confederation was all this. I suppose. Yeah. I think. Pretty sure. Reaction Ascendant. June to December 1848. Reactionary forces turned the tide. In France, the newly elected assembly proved to be reactionary, resulting in riots in Limoges and elsewhere, and a bloodily suppressed socialist uprising in Paris. Imperial forces subdued Vienna in June but failed to crush the Hungarian uprising. In Italy, Austrian forces crushed the Piedmontese at Custozza in July. So those victories are shown by this blue crown. Let's see, blue crowns here, blue crowns here, blue crown here in Vienna, like it said. Little victories. Then lastly, we have Republicanism defeated, 1848 to 1849. Republican risings in the Rhineland. Get it? The rising Rhineland. In southern Germany were put down after the Prussian king refused to unite Germany under his aegis. Rome, where Garibaldi had proclaimed a republic, held out for a month but was defeated by an army sent from France, where Louis Napoleon had been elected president. Republican outposts in Venice and Tuscany were also crushed, as was the Hungarian uprising. So establishment victories are red crowns, and Republican revolutions are red fists. So we see in Rome here, of course, big deal there. Red crowns in Hungary. Red crown in Paris. And we're supposed to see red fists. That's a pink one. We already saw that one. This is red. Red crown down here in Sicily. Just writing everything after Europe was rocked for that whole year. It would never quite be the same after that. That's how we have Italy today. And I guess Germany too. Let's see what we've got. Starting in Paris, February 22nd, 1848, banquets banned, leading to riots and fighting at the barricades. On February 24th, Louis Philippe abdicated. On February 26th, the Second Republic was declared. On June 23rd, socialist revolts crushed in bloody fighting. And on December 10th, Louis Napoleon was elected president. What a year in Paris, right? Let's see where else. Over here in Custozza, it said June 24th and 25th, the Austrian forces defeated the Piedmontese revolt. Down here in Rome, in November 1848, the Pope fled. In February 1849, Garibaldi declares a republic. And in July 1849, the republic was defeated. Here in Palermo, January 12th, 1848, the revolution broke out. On March 25th, the Sicilian parliament declared independence, and on May 15th, the Bourbon troops retook Sicily. What else do we have here in Central Europe? I guess this is talking about Vienna. Metternich resigns March 12th. Where are these boxes pointing to? This is pointing to Venice. Let's read those. On March 23rd, the Republic was declared, but on August 28th, it was retaken by Austria. Where are these pointing? I assume Vienna. I guess so. All right, May to June, revolution suppressed. On March 23rd, King Charles Albert declares war on Austria. It's got to be Vienna. August 6th, the Austrian forces retake Milan. Okay. Interesting. I don't see anything pointing to anything on these boxes, but I assume they're talking about... here's Milan. I guess that's pointing at Milan right there. And these are pointing... I don't know. Interesting. Where else can we go? Let's go to Copenhagen. It says, on January 1848, King Christian IX of Denmark died. kind of sparking a whole lot. Here in Prague in June 1848, bloody repression by Habsburg troops and efforts for constitutional reform. Here in Poland, on March 20th, the uprising, and in May, the uprising was suppressed by Prussian troops. Then we have Buda and Pest, which is Budapest today. March 15th, the outbreak of revolution. Hungary granted independence, but by October, the Hungarians were defeated. Did we get to them all? Did we get to them all? Habsburg troops up in Prague. Looks like it. Alright, and that was 1848 in Europe. A wild time. A wild ride, wasn't it? Pretty much changed the entire political face of many European nations. Never the same after that. As many revolutions tend to end with great change. And unfortunately, that's all the maps I have for you tonight. Let's peek. I forget what's next. Oh wait, I remember what's next. Next is the end of this chapter. So usually at the end of the chapter, they look at what else happened around the world during this time, like the 1700s, 1800s. So we're going to look at Australia, New Zealand, and I think India was one of them. Oh, abolition of slavery. It must be Haiti, I think. I can't tell. I can't read it. And India. Rise of British power in India. So I have to think of a title. Oh, then we have the Opium Wars in China. So I have to think of a title to sum up these maps. Instead of Britain ruins everything, can you think of a better one? Britain ruins everything. Maps of Australia, New Zealand, India, and China. No, I can think of a better one than that. If you can think of a better one, let me know in the comments. Because the hardest part of these videos, since I don't script them, is trying to figure out how to tile these maps together. We'll find a way. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. If you did, please consider subscribing, because we'll be heading over to these other maps very soon. I hope that you have a good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.